Hey there guys, TC Made with TC Gaming. I just wanted to get out a live stream for you regarding a workflow for taking Paragon assets and converting them over to a Mixamo skeleton, and then using that Mixamo skeleton to convert them onto a Synty Polygon character, or theoretically anything that uses a similar skeleton structure. The YBOT off of the Mixamo Animation website has a very similar skeletal structure as the Unreal Engine mannequin. So we're going to use that as kind of like a middleman to translate some of the Paragon stuff over for us. And the other thing is that if you're using the Mixamo Animation Retargeting Plugin off of the store, which is what I'll be using for the second half of this. So Mixamo Animation Retargeting Plugin, about 35 bucks or whatever. I think this process could all be done manually, but this thing definitely saves you a lot of time once you get to the Mixamo rig side of it to move everything over. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back through this. I put this up earlier and I had some issues with it, so I'm going to go back through it. Hopefully you haven't watched that other one yet because I'm going to take it down and it'll be replaced by this one. But if you have watched it, bear with me as I get to the back end of this. First thing we want to do, or really what our end goal is, I should say, is when we go and look at our Paragon assets, like for example Paragon Greystone, one of the things I always liked about these guys, number one, they're free. Number two, they have a bunch of animations on them, and I really like the way that the character interacts with the scenery. You know, how his head kind of pans around there like that. And also when he's running, you see he's got that real nice tilt and lean. So this is kind of what we're looking to duplicate. He also has a couple of animations for his attacks already built in, and I also like that his jump height isn't astronomical like he's taking off to space. So, I wanted to get that onto my Synty characters and always had a tough time with it. So I think I've finally figured out the workflow for it, and we're going to go through it real quick. I'll try not to lose you, but again, you can always slow these down and watch them back a couple times. Last time I lost myself, so hopefully that's not the case this time. But again, what we want to do is we want to go to Mixamo, and under the characters section, you're going to look for a guy called YBOT. So if you just type in YBOT, you should find this little blue YBOT skeleton, which I've already loaded over here. And then what I did is I went into the animation section and I just searched for the word pack. And when you search for pack, you're basically just looking for something to apply to this character so that you can then download that pack, which will also include this YBOT skeleton. Now you could bring the YBOT skeleton down by itself, but you may want some additional animation. So what I typically do is I go through and I look for a small pack, like basic locomotion, for example. Let it load on there, and then I'm just going to say download. And I want the FBX T-pose, 30 frames, no reduction. And we just hit download. Pardon me. Now this is going to typically package everything up and bring it down to a zip file for you, and then you can unzip that on your local directory. So in my case, it's going to come down and ask me if I want to bring that in. And I already have one in here. I'm not going to worry about replacing it, but that's what you would get. Now from there, you would go to wherever you've unpacked that to. And again, in my case, it was on the D drive. And it was called the basic locomotion, is how that's going to come down. Basic locomotion would be right there. And then I just unpack it to a directory. So I'm going to have basic locomotion pack here. And what I was talking about is you'll see here, these are the individual animations for idle and jump and left strafe and left turn. But in here also you include this little skeleton called YBOT. So in our third person project, what we want to do is go in and to the content section here, you just put this up and say new folder. And I've created a couple already. So my folders are called Mixamo. And under the Mixamo folder, I have RT_animations, RT_aim offsets, and RT_blendspaces. Now, where I got those names from is if you look at the Paragon Greystone character hero Greystone section, and you look at he has animations, aim offsets, and blend spaces. And I'm just prefixing that with the RT_ so I know that these are retargeted to a Mixamo character. So Mixamo and then retargeted animations. In the default location of the Mixamo folder, this is where I put my YBOT skeleton. And the way that you do that basically is you go into this would normally be empty, and you just go over to your YBOT and you literally drag it into the folder, and it pops up a window for you normally. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and do it. Let me say cancel this, and I'll just do it again. So let me take these out of here real quick. I'll show you what that would have looked like for you. I thought I'd already cleared all this stuff out from the previous tutorial, but it's still in there. But we would just go in and get our YBOT and bring it in, and you just leave these basically as default settings with convert scene and no skeletal assignment, and just say import all. It'll take a second. It'll bring your character in for you. And then what we want to do with this, once it loads everything up, is we just want to prep it for animation retargeting. You're going to get a couple of warnings in here. Nothing really to worry about yet. And typically I like to hit the save all button every time I do some kind of a major change to my project, like importing things or modifying some significant piece of work. We're going to go into the YBOT skeleton, open this up, and the first thing we want to do is go over and make sure we have our skeleton tree and retargeting manager turned on. If you don't see the retarget manager, you can hit it here. Sometimes it also drops out, so you can go to the window and make sure that it's active. You'll see it. And you want to take this preview mesh and hit apply to asset. And under the skeleton tree side, you go to show retargeting options. And then what we want here is we want to grab this first one, just right click that and say recursively set translation retargeting skeleton. And that should propagate all the way down through here. And then go back up to the one that says hips and just change only that one to animation scaled. We then want to go to our retarget manager window, and under setup rig, we want to go to select humanoid rig. Now you'll notice that that fails to map any of the bone structures of this character. Well, in my video description here, I have a link to my drive. Now what you can do manually is if you go root, there is no root on this character. It starts with hips. So his pelvis would be called hips, so on and so forth. Spine 1, spine 2. You can go down through and name those. But I actually have a folder for you, or a file on my drive. It's called Unreal Training Downloads under the animation drive, and the link's in the description of this. But what you want to do is go and get this Mixamo bone mapping asset that's in here and hit download. And if you don't want to do it that way, you can also go to the skeleton retarget file, which shows you where everything gets mapped for a Mixamo character. So I have those there for you if you'd like to use those. I am going to use my other piece, which is the, go back in here to my Mixamo folder. Where did I go? Unreal Training Downloads, Animation, and download my Mixamo bone mapping asset. And it's going to ask me where I want to put it. So what I would like to do here, since I already have a game that I'm working on with this, Unreal Projects, and I'm just going to go down to the one that I'm working on now, which is called Paragon YBOT UESYN. I'm going to go to the content directory and into my Mixamo folder where I've placed my skeleton. I want it in the same location where that is. So I just hit save, and it's going to download it into that project. Now that I've downloaded that, and I'm on the humanoid mapping, I can go and say load. Actually, I might have to go refresh this real quick. Hold on. Maybe if you already have them on there. There's your Mixamo bone mapping. So if you go back in here and hit load, it should have shown up here. Might have to delete it and bring it back in. I apologize. It's always one little thing here. Let's hit save. Slow down a little bit. And I don't think there's a refresh for this thing, but let's delete it. And we'll go back and we'll get it again. And we'll say, bring it down to D drive, Unreal Projects. Maybe I'm in the wrong project. Let me just double check. Paragon YBOT UE. No, it's there. And content. And then we want to go into our Mixamo folder. And it should come in there. And it should show up and be available for retargeting on this YBOT skeleton. And for some reason it's not. Well, let me try it the other way. So I'll just download it to my D drive, and then I'll pull it in. So I'll delete it from here, and I'll go and get it from here. Mixamo bone mapping U asset. Oh, that's interesting. So now it's telling me it failed to import that. Huh. Hold on for a second. I'm going to restart this project real quick because maybe I corrupted something in there. My apologies. It's always one thing that holds you back. If you watch my previous video, this does work, and that's why I put it out there for you. But I just deleted a bunch of stuff before we did this, so it may have wiped it out in the memory side. So let's try one more time. Normally I just download it from the thing, but this time I'll just try and drag it in. No, it's telling me it doesn't know what it is. Unreal. That is weird stuff. I do have a copy of this somewhere else if I need it. I think I corrupted this project. Maybe I'll just bring it into the content directory and see if it actually shows up. And then I can drag it in there. Okay, so it did make it in there. Let me go ahead and drop it into my Mixamo folder. And I'll just say copy here. And save that. Yeah, that doesn't normally happen that way, so let's see if it actually works now. Okay, so now we got a couple of them. So anyway, when you bring that in, ordinarily this would all work, but I think I jacked the project up. When you bring that in, you're going to get a mapping set up for this and ready to go. Okay, the next thing we would want to do is we want to go into our Paragon Greystone character. So we go down through here into the Heroes Greystone folder and find his mesh. And we're going to take his skeleton, and we want to do a couple things here as well. So on the retarget manager, we want to make sure he's on humanoid. His should auto map because he comes from Epic and already has his rig on there. The other thing we want to do is basically go in and set our values in here, our snap size and our grid, our rotation value down to 5 degrees. And I like to go to the skeleton tree here and look for his shoulder. So I'm going to have a shoulder left and a shoulder right. And I'm just going to take this, I'm sorry, not the actual shoulder. It's the arm under the shoulder. Upper arm left and bring this up 55. And do the same thing with upper arm right. You take this up 55. And then back on this retarget manager window, we're just going to say modify pose, use current pose, and just hit the save button. Now, if everything went well, back on our Greystone folder, we should have a Skeleton and BP. And we're just going to go to retarget animation blueprints and duplicate. And I should see the YBOT skeleton also in a pose. And for my prefix on this, I'm just going to call this YBOT underscore. And you could do a couple different things here. Now I'm calling it YBOT so I know what it came from. Later on, I was going to retarget it to the Polygon Dungeon Asset Pack, and then I was going to change it to, like, Polygon, and then go through and rename a bunch of stuff. If you want to, you can call this something more generic. Like, you could call this, like, my character underscore. And then later on, you wouldn't have to rename a bunch of stuff when you ported it over to the other side. But I'm going to do it this way so it's a little bit clearer that we're getting this from the YBOT skeleton. So I'm going to hit underscore there. Excuse me, I'm going to change the directory this goes to, which is going to be our Mixamo Retargeting Animations folder. And just say OK. And then say retarget. And what it should do is pull over quite a few things, and we just want to go and save all those. And then what I like to do here is take the Greystone Anim file, and I'm just going to drag it up to the Mixamo window and just say move here. That way this is still up in the parent directory just like it is on this folder over here. And I'm going to go in here and rename this. And I'm going to leave it called YBOT. So YBOT underscore Anim BP for animation blueprint. And then I'm also going to go back to the Paragon Greystone folder. The Greystone folder here, and I have a Greystone player character. I'm going to take that one and I'm going to drag it up to that Mixamo folder. And this one I'm going to say copy here. And I'm going to go back to that Mixamo folder and I'm going to rename this one. And this is going to be called YBOT underscore PC. So it's going to be our YBOT player character blueprint. Excuse me. So now that we've copied these basic animations, we can go into the YBOT player character. Go to the mesh for that. I always like to go to the viewport. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the skeletal mesh. And we're going to assign it to our YBOT character. And our Anim class is going to get modified and become the YBOT Anim BP. And you should see him start to move right there. So we're going to say save. And we're going to go back out now. And what we can do is if we go into our third-person project, third-person BP, excuse me, there is a set of blueprints in here that dictate your game mode. So I'm going to go into third-person game mode, and under default pawn class, I'm going to change this to YBOT PC, YBOT underscore PC, and hit save. And normally you have a mannequin standing out here, you know, like this. What you're going to do is you're going to take that mannequin out of that level and just delete him. The third-person game mode is going to go and get the YBOT character and spawn him to this location and look up whatever his animation blueprints are to make that work. So if I hit play right now, we should see our YBOT in the level, and he plays his introductory animation. And when I double left click or triple left click or whatever, I'm not firing any of the animations. I can run, and I am getting my tilt animation. Okay? So far so good. What we want to do now is go and replace a couple of references and fix a couple of things and also bring over some additional animations. So if we go back to the Greystone animation folder, we see our aim offsets. We're going to highlight all of these. We're going to right click on these and say retarget anim assets, duplicate. Again, picking the YBOT skeleton, and again referencing YBOT underscore and changing the location to the Mixamo aim offsets folder. We're going to retarget those. Then we're going to go into the Greystone blend spaces. We're going to highlight all of the blend spaces. Right click and say retarget anim assets here. Duplicate YBOT skeleton and prefix this with YBOT underscore. Change the directory on here to Mixamo RT blend spaces. Hit OK and retarget those. And then the last one is up here in the animations folder again. We have a couple of montages that did not come over with our previous thing. And there's 4 of them in here, but you don't need the level start montage. It's already in there. You need the ones that say attack, primary A, B, and C. You just right click on these and say retarget anim assets, duplicate onto the YBOT skeleton. Prefix these with YBOT underscore. And you're going to change this folder just to the Mixamo RT underscore animations folder at the root. Just say OK and retarget. Now, I just want to point out here that there are also a bunch of other animations that are in this package that we're not currently bringing over, although we could bring these over if we chose to. I could go through here and select everything except for the montages and stick these in another folder, and they will retarget to that character and they'll all work. I'm going to skip that for now, but if you need additional animations, just understand that you can bring them through with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to my, basically done with this for a second. I want to go into my Mixamo folder, and we want to start looking at our animation blueprints and our YBOT blueprint class. And the first part of this in our YBOT Anim BPs, you're going to notice that you have some issues here with the leg IK. I'm not going to worry about those for a minute. But in here, in the YBOT Anim BP event graph, you're going to want to zoom in. You go up towards the top of this thing. Pardon me, it's getting late here. It's 3:31 in the morning. So I'm all the way up here in the little top section of this. And where it says cast to Greystone player character, we're going to right click on this and say cast to, and we should have a YBOT underscore player character that shows up. I'm going to copy that and hit Control V to paste it again because I need two of these. One of them's going to go right here as well. Okay. So for the first one, we're just going to take the execution pin and drag it to set. And we're going to take the as YBOT PC and drag that to character. And then we're going to take this one and get rid of it. Okay. We're going to basically do the same thing here, but you'll have one additional thing that you have to change. This bind event to attacking is right now pointing at, if you look at the target on this, it says target Greystone player character object reference. So there's going to be two of these that show up when I do this, and we just want to grab the second one. We're going to go to bind event to attacking, and you notice it doesn't show up. That's because we have this context sensitive checkbox on. So if you uncheck that, you'll want the second one down here. And if you hover over target, you see the target now says YBOT PC object reference. If it doesn't say that, go and pick the other one. Okay, depending on what you named it, it might show up differently. But you just want to make sure that you have the correct one there. So now all we're going to do is we're going to rewire these pins. If you hold down the control key, this will turn into a hand, and you can literally just drag this down then to the execution pin and drag this one down to the object. And you can drag this side here. We're going to just drag over to the bind. And this one as YBOT PC is going to go over to target. And we're going to come out of this event node into this event. This can now be deleted, and this can be deleted. Okay? So we're just basically repinning those two, casting it to the YBOT PC. We're going to go down a little bit further here. And we're just looking for other things that need to be switched out, and we should have a couple more down here at the bottom. So these notifications are set in montages to define end of an attack and define when combo will time out. And you can see here we have a combo attack save. Target is Greystone player character and cast to Greystone player character. So same thing we want to do here. We're going to right click and we're just going to type in combo attack save. And we want the one that's under the YBOT PC. So we're going to stick that up here for now. We can also right click here and just type in reset combo. And same thing, we're going to get the one that's under the YBOT PC. Bring that up. And then we want two of the cast to player blueprint for our YBOT. So we're going to say cast to YBOT. And then we're just going to highlight this. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and bring that reference down here. And then we're just going to go ahead and hold Control click on this pin and drag it down to the input. And same thing, drag this down to the object. We're going to take our execution pin to our combo attack save over here. And our as YBOT PC to target self. So we're just basically replacing these references to our new character. So we're going to highlight that and delete it. Move these out of the way. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to do the same thing with this. I'm holding down Control and just drag this pin down to here. Hold down Control and drag this pin down to here. This is my Control and left mouse button. And then we're going to take our execution to the execution pin and our as YBOT player character to the target pin. And we're going to delete both of those references. And then that should be it inside of this one. I don't believe there are any more in there. And what we want to do is compile that and hit save. And again, we're going to have these little leg IK things. I could fix these real quick. I'll show you how to do it. If you just go, and we're only going to do this temporarily, but if you right click on this, you want to say break links, and then just drag from the local component over to the other component to local. So you're just going to basically bypass that behavior and then just compile it, and those warnings should go away. Not a big deal. Currently move it into this next phase here. So that, for the most part, we still have a couple things to clean up here in our animation graphs for locomotion and some things out here. I'll take care of those in a second, and I'll show you why. So what we want to do now is go into our YBOT player controller. And what we're going to do here is the same thing. We're just going to basically go down and look for anything that needs to be fixed. And really the ones that we're most interested in is that when we left click our mouse button, we want to go in here and set all these different things for our combo attacks to occur. And what they do basically is they play these animation montages. But right now the anim montages are set to, if I hover over that, you can see where it says the path is Paragon Greystone Character Hero Greystone Anims. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this now to my YBOT Attack Primary A Montage. This is going to go to YBOT Primary B Montage, and this one's going to go to YBOT Primary C Montage. And I'm going to compile that and save. Okay. Now if I go back here and hit play, when I double left click or triple left click, I've replaced all my montage references, and I should now be able to lean and run. And when I stop, I can go ahead and execute my attack combos. And the reason that these don't work yet is because of the other couple things I said I had to fix. So we're going to go fix those now. And how we're going to fix them is, first, we're going to go into the animations and go into our attack primary montage. And in these things are playing in what are called slots. And you need the slots over here in the anim slot side. So I'm going to show you where they come from. If you go into the Paragon Greystone Character Animations and grab his primary montage, I now have them both open, YBOT and his. I'm just going to reverse their order. So you can see all his slot names are here. And we only have the one for the upper body. These don't translate over when you change the characters. So what we want to do is we want to create these. And you just literally go down here and highlight this and just say add slot and give it a new slot name. So the slot names for these, we already have the upper body, which is down in the list a little bit further on his, but we're going to go to, this one's going to be called upper body slot. And just hit enter. We're going to add the next one, which is going to be called full body slot. And pay attention to the case sensitivity of these. Notice how I'm using Slavic naming conventions with uppercasing each word within a constant string there. I'm going to hit add slot again, and this one's going to be called full body, and this one's underscore yaw adjust. I'm going to do another one. This is going to be called upper body underscore mesh space additive. Add another slot. This is going to be called arms and head. We're going to add another slot. This slot's going to be called upper body underscore in motion, upper body underscore in motion. We want one called full body underscore in place. We already have the upper body. We're going to do full body underscore on ground. Add another one. This is going to be full body underscore in air. We want one called full body. And then our last one is going to be called default slot. So default slot. Okay, so now that we have those there, we're going to save that. And if we go back out and hit play again, this still should not play just yet. So there's my triple attacks. I can jump an attack, but I can't run an attack, and I can't run jump an attack. If I'm running, I'm not attacking. I can only attack in place or jump an attack. So to fix that, we just changed our slot definitions in there. And the last part that we should have to do is if we go back to our RT animations section, actually to the Mixamo folder, under the YBOT player character, or player controller, we did that one. We want to go to the one for our YBOT animation blueprint. And I mentioned earlier in the animation graphs, if we just go to the anim graph right here, what happens is this character is going to play its lower body animation, which was snapshot from a state machine into a pose that updates every couple of seconds or whatever. And it's going to play that while it's also attacking. So it's just basically blending the two together. And what this uses is a thing called layered blend per bone. So if you highlight this, yours will be collapsed like this, most likely. And what you want to do is where it says layer setup, you would expand this out, and then it's going to have one member and then branch filters and all this kind of thing. So by default, the ones that came with the original character, the bone names are pelvis, thigh underscore R, and thigh underscore L. Well, the YBOT character doesn't have those names. The YBOT character's names are actually, and I'll show you where to find them first, but if you go to the skeleton, you can see over here that his pelvis is called hips. And if you look down a little bit further, his thigh underscore L is actually called left up leg. And his thigh underscore R is actually called right up leg. So we need to fix those in the blueprint. We go back here. So again, pelvis becomes hips. Bone name here for thigh R is going to be right up leg. And the bone name over here is going to be called left up leg. Okay. And I don't think we need to worry anything about that, so we're going to compile and save it. And if I go back out here now and hit play, he plays that animation. I can do all of my attacks. I can lean, and while I'm running, I'm playing my animation. So if I single click, I get a forward slash. If I double left click, I get both of the animation attacks. And if I triple left click, I also get the final one. All right. So that's the big ticket stuff that gets you onto that. Now, what I said earlier was, now that we have that part done, the next piece of this, you could manually go in and retarget all this stuff and change it around. But what happens is this YBOT skeleton and your Synty character skeleton are slightly incompatible with each other. But if you have the plugin, you go into settings and plugins. There's a plugin called Mixamo Animation Retargeting, which I mentioned earlier, and I have that enabled. And what you can do is on your YBOT skeleton, you just right click this and say retarget Mixamo skeleton asset. And you can retarget that to your Synty character dungeon skeleton. So if you select that right there, what that's going to do is basically should make those two compatible. Okay. Now the thing I would recommend, before you do that, is when you go to Polygon Dungeons and you go down to your meshes and your characters, you're going to find a single skeleton that applies to all these different assets. And in this case, in the Polygon Dungeon Pack, most of them have one skeleton for all the character meshes that are in there. But if you go in here, you just want to make sure that, let's get rid of this here. I was playing around with some other stuff. But, same thing in here. You want to go and look at your options. And normally these work out better if you have these all set to skeleton. And you have the root set to animation and the pelvis set to animation scaled. And you have your preview mesh turned on. Okay. But now that we have those two things set up in a compatible way, what we should be able to do is go and repeat this process we did a second ago. We should be able to take our Mixamo folder, and I'm going to save all these things real quick because I've done a lot of work here. So we'll let that run through. And we're going to save, or we're going to go through now, and we're going to take, same thing, we're going to start the process again. We're going to take our YBOT Anim BP, and we're going to retarget it. Now what I'm going to do that's a little bit different here is I'm not going to prefix these assets onto the polygon character. Normally I would have called this something like my character or whatever, but I was just showing you that this is a different thing from the YBOT to the whatever. I could prefix them again on the Synty Polygon character. Maybe I'll just call it PD for Polygon Dungeons, and I go back to that process one more time so you can see it. But I'll show you the net result of it, which is if I go into the Mixamo thing and I want to retarget this now, since I've used that plugin, I can go Retargeting Anim Blueprints. My Synty character dungeon skeleton shows up. And if I wanted to prefix this, I would just prefix it here with an SD underscore. And it just makes it easier to find those things. But the other downside of that is you also have to change the names of everything that's touching it, So if I don't do that, what I could do is just leave it alone and then go and retarget the things using the basic names that are in there. But I'm going to leave it to where we're going to do it over again. So SD underscore, we'll change it. We'll go to Polygon Dungeons, and I'm going to put it under here with the meshes and characters. And I've already created these folders as well. So this one here, can I rename that? Let's see. Let's cancel that real quick. There's a typo in there, and I don't want to propagate that into everything else I do. Character. Okay, yeah, typos are not your friend in programming. Anything. Even if you're just doing something like this, it'll bite you later on. So I'm going to go back here, YBOT, retarget, duplicate, pick my SK character dungeon skeleton. I'll call it SD for Synty dungeon, underscore it, and go down here to Polygon Dungeon, Meshes, Characters, into the Retarget Animation folder. And we'll just say retarget. And what you'll see here, if I save all these, and on this one I'm going to leave them all in the same folder together. But if I go over to, like, for example, the level start montage, you'll see that my character, my Synty character, is playing that animation now that would normally have happened on the Paragon asset. Okay? So, pretty good there. We want to do the same thing. We're going to go back to our Mixamo folder for the RT anim offsets. We're going to take these, retarget anim assets, SD underscore, and these are all going to the aim offsets folder, Mixamo, not Mixamo, Polygon Dungeon, Mesh, Character, New folder. Wonder where my... That's interesting. My folders, I see them over here, but they're gone. RT underscore aim offsets. And that's where we're going to put those. Retarget. So they should have shown up there. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll go back here to our RT blend spaces. We're going to grab all these. Retarget. Pick the SK character dungeon skeleton. Synty dungeon underscore. And we're going to change that to the polygon dungeon mesh character. And if that folder doesn't show up, you just right click and say new folder. And these are going to be called RT underscore blend spaces. We'll just pick that folder and say OK. And retarget. Okay. And then what we want to do is a big save all here. So if everything worked out, we should have our retargeted animations, our retargeted animation offsets, and our retargeted blend spaces for those characters. And what we will have to do is grab from the Mixamo thing here, we had our YBOT player controller. We're just going to take that and drag it down here to our Polygon Dungeon RT animation section. We're going to drag it down there and we're just going to say copy here. We'll go in there and then we're just going to rename this. So that's our SD underscore PC now. So I have an SD and I'm going to rename this also because I don't want the YBOT. I really didn't want the YBOT reference in here. So I said about prefix and all this. Actually, I'll just leave them there because they're already like that. But so that does it with the player controller. So if I open this up and go to the mesh, I can now change this mesh to be my Hero Knight Male and change this anim class to be the SD YBOT Anim BP. So you'll see he's playing that basic animation now. And to make that work in our blueprint down here for the third person game mode, we just go here to our default pawn class and we're going to change that to our SDPC, which is our Synty Dungeon player character. Hey, what's happening there, MSOD? Just going through the most complex retargeting I've ever done in my life. So now that the third person game mode has been updated, when I hit the play, you should see my Synty Dungeon asset. He's going to play his basic animation. He's got his head turning. If I run, he's going to be able to do the tilt and lean. Now, he's not going to do any of the attacks yet because we have to update all of our animation, 1400 AM funny. We have to update all of our animation blueprint references that are in the montages. So what we're going to do is go back here. And we just basically do the same process that we did earlier. We're going to go in and say, under the YBOT Anim BP, the SDBP, we want to go in here and change these references. That's why I said earlier, if you leave these alone, you don't have to go back here and rename them if these would have just been generic in nature. But I think it's actually probably helpful to see these a second time. So again, we're going to go back in here and just cast this to our SDPC and control copy and control paste that in because we're going to need two of these here. And we're going to take the first one and we're just going to pull off these pins and we're going to run those out to the set. So drag out here and set those and get rid of the YBOT reference there. And I am going to go down here. In answer to your question, the finger problem with a retarget is based on the fact that a Synty character only has 3 fingers. They have a thumb, an index finger, and then their ring, middle, and pinky are all the same finger, which in their blueprint remapping is referred to as finger 01. And I do cover that in a lot of the Synty retargeting streams that I've just done recently. That'll fix a lot of that for you. Basically, you're going to map those 3 fingers as 1 finger. That'll fix it. All right, so for this one here, we have this additional reference we have to change. So on the bind event to attacking, we want to go over here and say bind event to attacking. And again, take off the context sensitivity. Bind event to attacking. And you're going to have a third reference here now, and it should be the third one down. But again, after you pull it in, you just want to go look at the target. So you can see that this says target is SDPC. And now we can go and fix our path here. So we're going to pull down the first execution pin, cast to SD, return value to our object. We're going to take our as SDPP out to the target there, our execution pin out to the bind event, and come off this last little event node into here. And basically all you're doing is you're just rewiring it so that this path is no longer valid. We can take this out and take this out. And then we want to come down a little bit further. And in this blueprint here, you also have these combo attack variables that are animation notifications that are being passed over from the montage to trigger whether or not you've attacked once, twice, or 3 times. And for each iteration on that, it decides to play the next animation in the sequence. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this combo attack save and reset combo. You want to right click on this and just type in literally what it says here, combo attack save. And you want to get the one that's from your SDPC. You can see where it says target, right? Target is YBOT PC, target is SDPC. And we'll do the same thing with our reset combo. Just type in reset combo. And if you don't see these, again, make sure that context sensitive is turned off. Sometimes with custom functions, that'll block you there. And we want to get the one that's from our SDPC for the reset combo. And then we want to get 2 references to our cast for the cast to SD for the player character. And again, you can just highlight these, hit Control C and Control V to paste them in. And then you're just going to rewire the pins. And on this side here, you're just going to go straight across. Same thing here. Let's reset your combo. And then what you can do, if you hold down your Control key, you can just drag these down and drop them off. So we're just going to repoint them like that. And then we can get rid of these top 2. Drag this back up. And we'll do the same thing here. We got to make sure that this is wired into the target side. And then we're just going to hit Control and drag our pins down. So this goes to Object, and this goes to the input execution side, or input side rather. And we can get rid of our reset combo here. And compile that. We shouldn't have any errors there. And then the other references we have to change are in the blueprint class for the player controller. We want to go through here. I'm going to zoom these out a little bit, but we just want to look for anything that causes us a need to change this. I think I actually did fix these already. No, I got to fix these montages. So the play anim montage on the first attack counter is going to get retargeted here. So if you pull this down, you have, instead of the YBOT attack primary A montage, this has to go to the SD version of that. Now, that's not in here yet. The reason that's not in there yet is because we didn't go into our Mixamo folder, into our RT animations, and pull those over. So we're going to grab these 3, YBOT, YBOT, and YBOT A, B, and C. Right-click, retarget anim assets, duplicate. Grab the dungeon skeleton. Again, SD underscore for Synty Dungeon is our prefix, and we're going to change this over to the Polygon Dungeon Mesh Character RT Animations, and I'll just go in the root portion of that and retarget that. Okay, so they're retargeted. Now that that's taken care of there, we can go back into our, I think I was in here, right? Yeah, we're going to go back in here and change this to SD YBOT attack primary A. This one's going to be SD YBOT attack primary B. And the last one is going to be SD YBOT attack primary C. Okay. Those references are now good, and we can compile that, save. And now we're going to go into our animation blueprint, and we're going to go in here to the animation graphs. Go back here, and what you're looking for is the layered blend propose. So highlight this, and we're going to change these references to match whatever's in our Synty skeleton. So on the last one, we changed them here because our other blueprint or other character had these different bone names. So we just, easy way to get there is just click skeleton, and we're looking for what are the hips called, what are the bone names called, and what are the legs. Now, we know that these are called, this should be called pelvis, and this should be called leg underscore L or leg underscore R, depending on which one you have, but I'll show you where they are. So you go back to the skeleton. The retargeting manager is an easy place to find it. So pelvis is pelvis. Your thigh underscore L, I said leg, so it's actually thigh underscore L and thigh underscore R are the names for those. Thigh L and thigh R, and they're uppercase. So pelvis to pelvis, thigh, left and right. Go back to our blueprint. So we want to just change this name here to pelvis. And again, you have to expand these out. Watch the earlier part of the video if you lost this. This is thigh underscore R and thigh underscore L. And the leg IK, I've disabled this temporarily because what's happening is the capsule half height and the overall diameter of that capsule is a little bit off for the Synty Polygon characters because they're about 80 to 85% the size of the normal mannequin. And until you work that out, what happens is the IK forces the tippy toes of the character to slam down to the ground. He looks like he's ballet dancing. And as a result, since his IK never gets engaged with the surface, he doesn't walk. So it's easier just to disable that temporarily. But if everything goes well, I should be able to go back into here and hit the play. And you see what I was talking about with the half height of the capsule. It's just a little tall. But if I hit the left mouse button 3 times, good. I'm running. I can left click and do all of my montage plays. And I can jump. And my character is now basically retargeted from what we started with, which was a Paragon character. If you want to confirm some of those things, what you can do, if something doesn't look quite right or whatever, you can basically go into your animations. And let's say, for example, you've got the level start montage. If you just put this out into the level and you hit play, so he'll get up and he'll do that animation. So you can do the same thing by going over and grabbing the Paragon Greystone character and go into his animations and get his level start montage as well. And you can set these guys next to each other. Let's drag him back a little bit here. And we'll turn him around to face us. Actually, my other character will probably be in the way because the player starts right there. So we'll move that. Let's move the player start over a little bit. But I can also go and grab this level start montage for Greystone. And if I hit play, you should see everybody's going to do the same thing. They all reach in, they pull their sword out, and they get ready. And he's going to play that over and over again so you can compare the two. Okay? So the only thing I have to do to clean this up, or that you would have to do to clean this up, is to modify some of the properties with the capsule. And it doesn't take that long to do that, but I don't really want to tie it up right here. The next thing we can talk about with these is actually adding attachments to the character and all that. But since we did so much of the polygon retargeting the other day, I just thought it would be appropriate to come in and set this up for you so you could see some additional ways to get animation assets onto those characters. Going back to that same thing with the animations, I mentioned earlier that you have a lot of other animations that aren't included when you do the blueprint retargeting. You can see they're all here. So one of the things you can do if you want You go to filters, excuse me, and you can go into the animation filter, and you only want to get the ones that are called animation sequences. Get rid of all the other montages because you already have them. You have some of these too, I'm sure. But if you highlight all these and shift select them, we can right click and go down to retarget anim assets and duplicate. And for this one, we want to take it to the YBOT skeleton. And again, these were our YBOT prefix. And I'll just change the location of that, and I'm going to take it over to our Mixamo folder, and under the RT animations, I'm just going to right click and say new folder and just say RT underscore other anims, just to separate them out. We'll put them in there and just say OK, and then retarget that. Oh, well, there you go. So there's too many of them is basically what happens. I just crashed my system because I got too many. So if you do them in small batches, they will work though. I could have shown you with maybe 1 instead of 100. But hopefully that didn't crash too much. Let's go back in there real quick. Anytime you try and do a bunch of those, you're going to choke your system out, especially if you're doing what I'm doing, which is live streaming at the same time, and they can get a little precarious. Hopefully I saved all that other work. Well, thank you, MSOT. I appreciate your feedback there. That whole system of retargeting those things is, it can be mind-bending, and that was a pretty long session there, so I did it twice. Hopefully you guys get an opportunity to go back through it and you learn something from that. If nothing else, learn that you shouldn't try and retarget a bunch of animations all at the same time, because sometimes they get a little crazy. But it looks like I probably kept, yeah, so I didn't really lose anything major there. But you should be able to go, as I was saying earlier, back to your Paragon Greystone Character Hero Greystone Animations folder. And let's say I just grab a couple of these. We'll just grab a handful of them. So like maybe these 4. If you go retarget anim assets and duplicate back to your YBOT skeleton with your YBOT prefix, YBOT underscore, change that to the Mixamo RT animation other anims folder. It should go through without a hitch. No? Well, so maybe there's something in there that's causing that. I'm not sure, but normally it works. Maybe if I had done it before I changed the skeleton. That's probably what happened when I retargeted the skeleton to match up with the Synty Polygon Assets. That's where the issue went. If you go back through the video, there was a portion of that video where I retargeted the character using the Mixamo Animation modification there. And when I did that, I bet you I changed some of the bone locations and things. So, well, that wasn't the purpose of it. So if you're going to change those animations, my recommendation then would be to change them all up front. Just create another animation folder, and when you go to do that, just switch them out. But the scope of this video was to take the Greystone Paragon character and get him over to the new assets here. Hey, no problem, man. I appreciate the feedback. And like I said, this was a barn burner session here. It's pretty long, so go back through it a couple times. If it doesn't make any sense, my Discord link is in the video. My animation asset folder is linked in the video. And I'll probably do some more of these just because it's such a complex thing. But this was the only way I've ever found that actually working out, is to use that retarget manager to get the polygon assets lined up with the YBOT, and using the YBOT as an intermediate middleman for those retargeting. So, guys, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here on the east coast of New Jersey, 4:09 or whatever. So I'm going to wrap this session up for tonight. I just wanted to bring that to you. And then I'm going to take the other video down, which is the one where I went through this whole thing and got stuck in the middle, couldn't figure out what happened, and called it part 1. So that video is going away. It's going to be replaced by this one. But again, as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys tuning in and giving some feedback on these. And always happy to help you out if I can. So again, my name's TC Mabe, TC Gaming. You guys have a fantastic morning, and I'll catch you in one of the next streams. Take care.